Hello everyone, my name is El Pernazo and in today's video I'm gonna show you the best Yummy Fiensmith budget profile. So don't forget to leave a like, subscribe and share the channel with your people so we can grow. Also remember that I will still be updating the best Yummy Masterclass with the information that I used to win the national championship with this deck and almost go to Worlds making top 8 at the Continental Championship. So just for $20. I'll leave the metafile link below in the comments. So now let's begin. This is the profile that I decided to use for the latest regionals here in my country. When I made ETS2, my two losses, I'm going to discuss it in a further video in depth. Right now, I'm just going to say that both people that beat me made top 8 at the regional, and one of them actually won the whole thing. So congrats to him. I will go deeper in the losses in another video so we can understand this better, but I think that this budget profile is really cool and really worth to see if you are looking for a cheaper deck right now until you wait for the Toon format or whatever format that you want to fully invest in. Okay, so let's go for the classics. Obviously, the whole Yummy package. Like this right now is a lot cheaper than it was at the beginning. Like there was a time when this asshole was actually $100 each. I saw people paying even almost 200 for this one. Like, but right now is not an issue. Like especially compared to 1 year ago. So we maximizing all the packaging, all the names. Then we go for the Fiensmith package. We still go for just the minimum that we need, and we are really saying the bare minimum. There's an argument to even just play one engraver if you want to minimize the whole thing as much as you can, but having two engravers allows you to do a lot of different plays that you can see in the masterclass combos and helps you to improve some templates that you can make for this deck. So the last starters / extenders, the Sky Striker package, excellent, have nothing to say. Works really cool with all the other cards that you have to try to play the game, and like the other kind of starters that you may want to put at this point for the deck, right? Like you already put the Yummy, you already put the Fiensmith. I think this is a good number, even though like I think twice during the whole regionals I saw my hand, I looked deep into my eyes, the eyes of my opponent, and I just told them pass. Not because they mulchar me, but because I didn't draw any of these ones. Literally any of these ones. So, you know, if the chances are not 0%, it can always happen. You know, it is what it is. So here we try to, funny enough, minimize the bricks, only playing 3. It didn't really matter at the end because I was drawing more this shit than any of my starters. But, you know, sometimes it's just not your day. I don't think that goes against the quality of the deck or the quality of the logic behind it. It just shows you that even when you are in the worst of lucks, this deck can even do a good result within that bad day that you had, because it's still a top 16, right? It's still, especially now, because it's still this booster. So, you know, in your worst days, you make top 16 at regionals. In your best days, you will make top 8 or even further. So, you know. Then for the Joker cards, I'm still going for these ones. These 3 Jokers. And even though this is not a Joker, I think it qualifies in this category, in the sense that now this category will not only be considered Jokers, it's considered power spells, right? Like you divide your deck by sections. These 4 are the power spells, these 3 are the bricks, all this section right here are the starters / extenders. Whenever you build your deck, it's very important to understand the role or at least the main role that you are making every card to have in every deck that you're building, right? So now, even though this category were always Jokers, now I think it's better to call them power spell. And within that category of power spells, there is mostly the category of Jokers. Now, I decided just to put 1 droplet this time because of the decks that I was expecting, and I will go even, like, I don't want to go too deep right now for the 1 copy in the main deck. is just how the ratios works for what I was actually expecting. And I will make a deeper video focusing on the choosing of one copy for so to be a lesson in the MetaFi guide, so you can understand when you can actually make these kind of weird decisions, right? Because it always seems weird to just play one droplet, right? You can even make the argument for these ones because they are one each, right? But this one, why just one? I will make a video explaining that deeper, so give a shot to the masterclass, to the MetaFi masterclass. So the rest of the deck, after the power spells, after the board, after the bricks, and after the starters and slash extenders, it will be full on hand traps, because that is how Yami basically works, as you already saw in the lesson about non-engine in the Yami masterclass. That is why we are going with 3 of these ones that I think are the best for the deck, like the best that you can have for the deck right now, at least. These ones, that is why we play 3 of each. Then 2 rolls, this time in the main deck because of what I was expecting, like Mitsurugi's, Rollat bullshit, Lunalight bullshit, a lot of different things, right? So I think that now that I'm expecting a lot more than just Qtune at the top in the most popular decks, the draw and log was kind of necessary. So then just two ogres because of the variance that I will explain deeper in a MetaFi guide that I'm going to explore in depth the ratios and the logic behind the ratios, comparing everything with what I was expecting and why the choosing derives of that understanding that I was making. That is why I also decided just to play 2 bells this time. And at last, the last hand that I decided to play was just 1 copy of the Fuwa. I don't see Fuwa being that strong in the format that I was expecting, and basically I was thinking even about just cutting the card, but it was very obvious to me that people were still going to main deck this card a lot, and therefore, because this is specifically Yami Fiensmith, I need still this combination, especially in single one, for all the logic that single one implies, that I go deeper in the masterclass to explain the importance of this shit. So that is why I still decided to play just 1. And, I think it was working really fine. The problem for me this tournament was specifically not drawing any starter. Like, this was really great. The problem was not drawing any of these ones, which, is something that's going to happen, right? There was another thing that I will go explain deeper in the video about how about how you can learn from your losses, even though a lot of people will say that it was just a shit bad luck. Like, if you watch the stream, right? Like, you saw that I just look at my opponent and pass turn. So this will be the main deck, obviously clean 40. You can see that any card in the deck is actually expensive. I think basically everything can be available as a common now, and the starters with the Yami and the Fiensmith got reprinted, and they are basically worth nothing, especially when you compare it how Engraver was $100, Marshmallow was $100, so everything is very cheap, and the extra deck is also very cheap too. You go obviously with the breaches, this stream, for all the breaches that they imply, and well, Kagari is just conditioned to the Camellia in that sense, right? So obviously you play this 3. The honorary Yami, always remember SP little Yami. You never undercover the fact that this is a Yami card. It just worked too well with them. Now we just go for the Fiensmith package. Again, not a really big shit, just these ones. Exactly what you need for the engine to work and to push for whatever you want to push. Desiree is awesome. It's really awesome. It's the best utility card that I have ever played. When you consider that card being actually an utility card, right? And nothing else. Because that is what it is. Okay, so then, please, regardless of the Yami version that you're playing, play these 2. I know that basically everyone is playing this one, but please, you need to play Almirage. Almirage is so great. It's so ridiculously strong. ridiculously strong, to the point that the mirror match that I faced in the regional, I would have lost if my opponent did Almirage in single tree. But I didn't, and that's why I won. Play Almirage. This is the greatest Salamangreat of all time. Please. By far the greatest. And then, obviously, this one's right here. Remember that you still play basically 3 snatches, and now you have the eternal snatchy, the one that comes back every single turn. So the deck is great, really awesome. Like, again, my only complaint is whenever I didn't draw any way to play, literally tries, that, you know, sometimes it's going to happen, right? Which helps me to emphasize, for example, that this needs to be in your side deck. You need one more starter, at least one more starter. Before I will tell you that you need one, but now maybe you need 2, because my real problem was the reason why I put this card. To have single tree, watch my hand, or any kind of single after side deck, and pass because I don't have any way to play. Like, one of these 3 bricks was in single one, so it don't go with the argument, but the other ones happen right, even in the other 2 bricks that I have when I didn't have any way to play, were even with me putting this card after siding. So you really need to value the starters that you have, and the fact that even if almost half of your deck are just starter standards, there are going to be cases when you won't draw any of them. So you have to value that, and you need to don't get your pride get into you, and acknowledge the fact that you need the starters. Right after this regional, maybe I'm going to see if I can play 18 starters in the main deck and 1 more in the side deck. I'm going to consider that just as a consideration, because I'm not going to let one tournament when I break so heavily bad tries like perpetuate my deck building choices, right? Like, sometimes it's just not going to be your day. But this deck is so good that even in your worst day, you will make a top 16 in regionals. So, you know, nice. Then the other cards for going second, for going first, the 2 Solemns and the Yami Assist. You can make the argument that this card is maybe expensive, but like, there's a lot of reasons of why I think this card is very important. Konami built and approached the game for months in order for make this card basically a must to play. I will make another video explaining deeper the rise of Solemn Accusation and how the meta was perfectly built in order for you to value this card whenever it gets released. This is basically the only expensive card in the deck, but if you can't just play this one, just play a Solemn Warning or Anti-Spell Fragrance. I don't think they fulfill the same purpose, but as we'll explain in the other video deeper. But, you know, you can just do that and make this another counter trap or the anti-spell. The point is that 4 cards going first. So I think this is a good one. Obviously, you play the Yami Assist. Like, amazing card. This guy's amazing. So then, for the hand traps, I decided to go with two Fuwalos. Then I decided to go with 2 DD Crows because of the meta that I was expecting. Like, again, a bunch of Rollat bullshit, a lot of Mitsurugi bullshit, a lot of Lunalight bullshit. And again, some other decks is kind of good too, right? For example, I faced an RB deck in one of my rounds, and I almost got my ass kicked. This card kind of saved my ass in that match. So I think this was a really fitting choice, considering what I was expecting, and that is why in my hand trap slots in the side deck that I already explained in the deck building of the meta file of why most likely they are sits. And in my hand trap section of the side deck, I decided to put these ones. I didn't put the Purulia because due to the space of what cards I'm valuing in my side deck more. So I was just trying to be the more respectful with the decks that I was trying to actually face against. Like, you can Purulia the Lunalight, for example, but if and they give you 2 draws if they want, maybe sometimes they will only give you 1. But no matter how many draws you have, if they summon the Liger, like you are still losing. So you are not actually conditioning anything, because a Lunalight player will understand that after they see that you are a Yami player. And obviously, if you are choosing what cards to put in your side deck, that must mean that your opponent knows what you're playing. So how strong that Purulia is going to be. You are already taking that risk with the Fuwa against that deck. So I don't think you need more. You actually need cantrips that do something. That is why instead of putting, for example, Purulias, I decided also to put the tier copy of these ones. Because I rather avoid what my opponent is doing right now than just praying to draw the Purulia. You can make, the Fuwa argument is different because the Fuwa, at least at the moment, puts more pressure into the decks that I care about whenever I put it. So I think that was fine, especially with so much bullshit of 60 going on, right? Like people doing the Link 4 Charmer, the Link 5, all that shit. So that is why I decided to pull all of these ones. Again, you can see that all of these cards are basically available in common. And talking about cards available in common, I decided to go with this. I didn't go for the evenly matched route because, again, I was not only expecting Rolla decks, I was expecting a lot of branded decks, and I was expecting a lot of Sky Striker decks, as well as the Mitsurugi decks. And when it comes to consider decks like Sky Striker, I don't see how evenly matched will be better than the Lightning Storm, in the sense that losing the battle phase just for them to keep the Flute Gate that will still beat me, because evenly matched will always allow them to have one spell or trap. These ones allow them to have 0. So I think that with all that considered, I decided to put these ones instead of the Evenly for these slots and this role, because I still need to think also with my extra deck, with my side deck, about the Kultung matchup, right? So that is why I decided to put the second droplet, and as a different way to try to push against that deck, the Illusion Gate. I decided to put the Illusion Gate because I was also kind of expecting like some mirror matches. I wanted to have a card that will give me still an edge against Yami variants. Also, because this one is, again, the main reason was still having board breakers to respect the Kultung matchup that can be useful against other decks that I was expecting too. Like this, just as the droplet, can take care of the Blitzkrieg big monster. So it can take care of sometimes like some branded bullshit depending on what they are actually doing, and like in general will be a good board breaker for whatever random bullshit that you may face, right? Because it's regionals too. You need to consider that shit. So only one copy because the other spaces were needed for other roles that were actually more important, right? So you can see that there is no pot of slot here because I wanted to make this budget approach to show you how good this deck actually is. Like literally everything here can be get as a common. Literally everything, except the Solemn Accusation that, even though it's strong, is perfectly, well, not perfectly, but kind of replaceable for either Solemn Strike or Solemn Warning, or the straight up Anti-Spell Fragrance. But you can see how everything else is kind of really budget. I would really advise you to play this deck, even in this budget version, because it's a very nice deck to help you understand the basics of the game, of the current game at least, and will help you to improve in the game, especially if you are following El Parnaso and you are buying the masterclass, because that will also teach you a lot about how to play and respect Yu-Gi-Oh, like the Yu-Gi-Oh gameplay. And whenever you are making a big investment in the future for any kind of meta deck, like for example, you're saving to waste all of the money in the Toon deck all the way into November, you can play this deck that will teach you and will help you to improve all of your skill, especially if you are aware of the masterclass content. And then in November, when you are when you are actually a lot more skilled than you are right now, you will be in a better position than the ones that weren't like preparing those skills or those skills as well as you were doing all the way into the toon format. So that is also an advantage. That is an honest advice that I give. I wanted to go to the regional like this to prove you that the budget version has a chance. Again, I lost to the brick. I literally lost to the bricks. I saw my hand without any play tries during the whole tournament, which is nonsense because this deck is built to be literally the more consistent. But even then, that can happen to you because if the chances are not 0%, they can always happen. So I will go deeper in those two losses that I have. Again, with one of the people that beat me won the whole regional, and the other one still made top 8. So it's still kind of good losses, right? So I will go deeper in the next video about it. So if you enjoy it, leave a like, subscribe, share the channel with your people, and I'll see you in another video. Bye bye.